up in that size taking a nap.
Yeah.
So let me now see. For anyone that is joining, bear with me for a moment as I'm trying to work my way through technology. Bear with me 1 second for those that are joining. Hold on, Chemmetta. I'm gonna try to do a
Nice.
second. Those that are joining. Okay, now how do I do this?
I think he went to sleep at 4:30. He went to sleep at 4:30. Went to sleep at 4:30.
Hey, Chastity. Let me not do background noise. Okay, Chemmetta, can you still hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good deal. I'm hoping that works. So I have Chastity. I am trying to, as I am bear with me, Chastity. I'm just trying to I am trying to Chastity, are you seeing this on my business page or my personal page? I'm still figuring all this out. Oh, I'm having a hard.
Ooh, we ain't gonna talk about it.
Okay, wait a minute. Bear with me. I'm about to start shortly. Let me go to my. See, this is what happens when this is your first time doing it and you are literally trying to feel your way through this. Hey, Tangie. Okay, so we just go start. I know that I was trying to share this on my personal page as well, and I'm not quite sure. Okay, all right, good deal. I'm just be Russell. Okay, just do it on my personal page. Um, but thank you, ladies, for joining. I want, and I'll keep trying to do it while Shanetta patiently waits for me. All right. So thanks, Netta, for joining us. And for those that are joining in on the live page, I wanted to just really log on today and take a few minutes. Shanetta and I actually grew up together, and her and I were talking, and she was sharing with me that she was hesitant to purchase my book. And I absolutely understood why when she explained it to me, but then I was just like, I promise it's not that bad. And so when she read it, she gave me a call yesterday, actually. And as she began talking to me about it and just sharing her thoughts, I thought it would really be beneficial for her to just jump on with me and allow her to kind of share her thoughts because it really did get me to thinking, and it was spot on with most of the information that she shared. And so I actually just allow Chemmetta Black now to join me in and just simply say, tell me what your thoughts were when you first, before you purchased the book, kind of tell us a little bit about why you were initially hesitant. And then after you purchased it, after you read it, what were your thoughts at that point?
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for this opportunity to talk to you and your followers, really frankly, about the impact that finding out the difficult past some of your close friends have faced and how that in fact affects you, and how you go on to support them in life, through life, knowing or not knowing what they went through very graphically. Um,
Mhm.
so there were multiple layers of why I was hesitant. Now, I wasn't at all hesitant to purchase right away, but I even purchased for a while before I finally read the book. And as I shared with you, there were several reasons. And I know that you tried to encourage me to do so sooner by saying that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Um, and you said something to me about don't worry about it. I'm healed. I'm okay. So you should be okay. And my first thing was, Tish, it's not that easy. It's not easy for multiple reasons. One thing is sexual abuse, whether it happened to me or my friend, still affects me. It is a vicious crime that happens against children, of all ages, of all rages, of all backgrounds. I narrowly escaped it myself as a child. I was very lucky to be able to get out of a close encounter that I had, whereas other people who we grew up with did not survive that same encounter. I later found years later that that same person who approached me actually fathered a child with someone who was only 4 years older than us. I was 12, he was 16. I got away, that person didn't. And what I don't know is at that age, if she believed that there was a relationship. There are so many levels to child abuse. And having worked in that background of sexual abuse in particularly, it affects me a certain kind of way. Um, the other reason why I was hesitant is because I have been invited to read stories about other friends who have endured and recovered as survivors without warning. And it was a far more graphic, and it caught me like, and it is not, but moving past that, the other thing is what I was explaining to you is I didn't want to take away from your moment by making you think it was about me, because it was definitely about you. But it is that part of knowing who the actors were. Like what your audience may and may not be aware of, I have been around you since we were children. We sang in choir together. We were barely able to sit up straight on a bench. We were friends then, we grew up. And then somewhere around 12 years old, we got really close and started hanging out a lot until you moved and I was still in the area. And then years later, out the blue, like 18 years later, I don't even know, I just popped up again. I was like, hey, how you doing? And then we've never disconnected since then. But I have been in your life across the span of this book. In fact, almost every key moment that you discuss in this book,
Mhm.
I was in your life. So it was difficult for me because I know also was worried. Number one, I would know the people in your life and I would feel a certain kind of animosity towards them for not protecting you.
Mhm.
Um, having worked in this area and knowing the pervasiveness of it, knowing the mental challenges that it faces, knowing how very frequently it's closest to the family and the cycle of abuse. But even past that, I had to talk to one of my close girlfriends, the one who shocked me with her book, to let her know there was something else. I have been that child ever since kindergarten where my peers called me mom.
Hmm.
Um, all through high school, all through school, I was one of the first peer advisors. I'm still looked to as uh, weirdly, because it's not like I'm like over like, hey, I'm in charge, I'm a leader, come be with me, but I am still very supportive of people. It's just by being a listener sometimes and a protector. I'm an extreme protector of all my friends. So it was heartbreaking for me to know that I was there.
Yeah.
I was there when it was happening. Didn't know. I was there at the time when you finally decided you were ready to share with whoever. It didn't matter. It didn't need to be me, but I didn't know. Um,
Hmm.
I was there at pivotal moments in your life when you almost faced that gun. I was there. I remember sending people to talk to you because I knew something, you were on a balance, but I didn't know to what extent. I knew some of the actors. I knew the relationships. I was there. I was there when you started the recovery process of getting from those dark places and moving forward. I was there when you were first dating your husband. I was there. So for me, it's difficult to know that I could be this person for all my friends and I'm here and I'm still missing it. Not that I'm supposed to know because, you keep a lot of things to yourself, but it was going to be hard. So I knew I needed to take time to just get there. And what I was trying to explain to you from friends, you have different levels of friends. You have a lot of different levels of friendships. And sometimes I think sometimes in what has happened to you, what has happened to a lot of people that I know who experience trauma in their lives as children, they are robbed of a true understanding of what a real love is, and their ability to trust people is shattered. There is a connection that I have not lost with people that I was able to develop with people that makes me love you the same way I did that first day that I do now, with or without a title. I'm that same person that I was when we were on choir at 4 or 5 or 3, that you didn't know you can trust. And I'm that same person now. And to just try to explain that I may not actually have to see what you went through to hurt and grieve for you and want to defend you and want to protect you and see you through this process. So I didn't need to necessarily see it in my face right away, and I wasn't ready to.
Yeah.
But now I'm ready to. We could talk about it. But as I was saying to you too, like when you told me I'm healed, I'm okay, my first thing was, no, you're not. And let me be clear, to me, this is just the awakening moment.
Hmm.
Now you see it. Now you know what happened. Now you're dealing with it. And I see, oh God, miraculous beauty in where you were and where you are and where you're going. But I think this is just the part where you're lifting the shield. You're revealing, you're relaxing, you're taking a breath. Personally, I don't believe that the true healing comes until the quiet becomes. So now we're talking through others. You're still in your Tish way, trying to save the world and help others to get through what they're going through, at the same time trying to heal yourself. But I don't think it's really until everybody step back and you get a chance to think about now what just happened, and then have those true discussions with people who have been in your life, who have always been there, who are still there, who want to be there, and start really tackling, what does friendship mean for me now? What does love mean for me now? How do I move forward? I think it's a whole nother level of healing. I do. I
Yeah.
think now when you finally get to take back what was stolen from you, and then it's a commencement of sorts.
Right. And no, I think and you said that to me yesterday, and I was in awe because that was a moment of reflection for me, because initially I was like, okay, I'm healed, I'm good, I'm in a good place, in which I absolutely am. You were there when I celebrated, Tandy was there when I celebrated my 33rd birthday. And it was that year was pivotal for me. And it wasn't, but 33, so I'm not 35. Do you have another device on? Do you have another device on? Because I'm hearing some background noise. Let me make sure it's not.
Well, maybe that'll help.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That worked perfect. So I at that moment, it was a tough year for me. And my brother stood up and he said something. And I don't know if, Tangie, you remember, if either one of you remember when he said, I love my sister, but I don't know my sister, right? He's my older brother by 7 years. I look up to him. Um, but when he said that, it stuck with me because I began to, I'm a processor. So it takes me a minute before I come back to you to really, I guess, process what you've said and what you potentially mean by that. And over the years, I've learned that it goes to what he said and what you actually told me on yesterday, which was I compartmentalize, right? While I have good friends, I try so hard to be there for them, to uplift them, that I don't necessarily always allow you all in enough to just lay down my burden, right? And because I never want to feel like, especially I think for me growing up, always feeling like if I asked a question, it was, what do you want? And so I think with that, as minor as it might sound, it's still traumatizing to an extent because certain things stick with you and they never leave. And so I took that and I was like, yep, never going to be a burden to anyone again. And so for that, I try to pour into others, but I don't have that outlet for me to allow someone to hear some of my trials. Talk to me a little bit about just what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I think again, like I believe that is part of that. It was taken from you. It was stolen. It's a shield. It's a defense. And you try very hard to give back, which is a beautiful thing. But in that, you might not even be aware of how you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable to anyone anymore, which is also a critical part of friendships and relationships. The difference is, though, that in most natural, long-term, enduring friendships, it is an encounter and an openness that happens without an expectation of receiving something back, and that's why they just flourish and last forever. Because I just met you, I was cool, let's hang out, and years from now, like you will find that same balance happens. Like we talked, we were friends, we disappeared for 18 years, we show back up. I saw you for like a month before you was like, oh, let's go. We went to Belize, like whatever, and the thing is, I've always been a watcher. I've always known there was something, but I've never pressed. I'm always here for people when they're ready. I'm not ready for what they give me too. So that's why I don't press, because I'd be like, whoo, child, hold on, let me get a glass of wine. All right, let's think about this, right? But I think that now that we've been through all this, now that the world couldn't kill you, couldn't crush you, you are here to stay, right? And you're vibrant and Laura can't get it out. You're beautiful in all your glory with all the colors, because I love the colors, right? Now you give me a paintboard I could work with, right? And we could talk about like how you can be vulnerable to me or others and not feel wounded or be afraid of being wounded. I mean, the truth of the matter is you've already been through some of the worst tragedies people can face and you still survive. So we know you're a survivor. It's kind of like going back to talking to my friends, talking about how, young kids, when they have their first relationships, they're so afraid to break up with this guy. I can't break up with this guy, And then we be like, girl, you're going to have a next one next week and you ain't going to remember his name. It's like you get through the first heartbreak, you realize you're not fragile. You're not going to break. You're not going to. So you could stop worrying about breaking and dying. You could stop worrying about people crushing you and harming you. You can be free to open up and not be worried about telling people to get thee gone if you don't want to deal with them. You don't have to shield yourself from potential rejection all the time. Um, you Now you're in the seat. You decide who comes and goes in your life. And because of that, you can be free. And so these are the phases that I'm looking forward to. Knowing you personally, I feel like I'm one of your closest friends. And yet I still read the book. And even though I wasn't surprised by most of it, there were some things that caught me off guard. I was like, oh no, she kept that secret. Yeah. Or some things didn't surprise me because I've seen it in your personality, but I just didn't truly have an understanding of how you got there and why you would be there. And I just think it might be some healthy conversations so we could talk about it so you can move forward past. I'm all for Tish happiness and growth. And we also talked yesterday about forgetting the titles. I think this was a big thing for me in reading the book because I got exactly what you meant. And I told you I wasn't surprised because I picked up on some of that. For the audience to know, like my background in general is I'm an analyst. I research, I pay it. So my whole thing is to scope and watch people, not necessarily profile, but just pick up on things and, connect the dots later, leave room that I could be wrong, I could be right, but just to really be observant of how people process information. And so I'm watching you and I'm seeing that there is a title search in a few areas. And I'm trying to say that maybe at this point we can get past that, realizing that the title father does not bear the responsibility of father. And so stop accrediting that role that someone never played to someone who didn't fulfill that. The title friendship or best friend isn't exclusive to someone who would have said that to you if someone also still showed you that same love. You know, so you should be able to, even without hearing that title, feel confident in knowing that that person loves you to that extent and you can be vulnerable with them, especially if they're vulnerable with you. Because I know I'm spending a few nights crying about some stuff. Shut and I'm not a crybaby, right? So
Yeah.
come on now. And some stuff that some other people on the phone don't know about. Hey, I compartmentalize too. But anyway, or titles of, just so many titles. We talked about various titles, wife, mom, kid, friend, daughter. Like, what do they mean? What should they mean? What don't they mean? And what does it mean to you? Because there's a process in your life where I'm sure that there were goals you were seeking because you were trying to guarantee yourself that you accomplished things that you thought someone had tried to take from you. I used to tell you before that you worked out as hard as you did because it was the one thing you can control was your body and you. And there was nothing nobody could tell you about it that was going to make you stop.
Yeah. And you're right. I just have that, and I still do that. That is the thing that I'm able to escape, certain places or certain things that have happened. And that is truly the one thing that I do. And people always say, I don't know how you fit that in. Baby, let me tell you, that is something.
I don't have that, and I'm just growing as we sit on the phone right now.
So that's something that you can't take. And I think for me, the titles at that time, and if I'm being honest, even into my adulthood mattered to me just because I guess not having a father growing up, right? And not having someone play that active role. And so for me, I heavily looked at my brother as that because he was somebody that, you know, he taught me finances. He taught me, how to be business savvy. And so I give him that credit because the person that should have been there and done that didn't. And so I do rely on titles when it comes to friends. Yeah, like we said yesterday, unfortunately, just growing up, I hear people say that's my best friend. That's my best friend. And I didn't think about until, again, adulthood. People have best friends that they grew up with, and people have best friends that they've just simply developed as an adult, right? But very much to your point, what I did not think about was that title does not dictate what they do for you, right? And what type of friend they are to you. And so,
Absolutely.
right. So it wasn't until that conversation yesterday, of when I was able to sit back and say, man, she's right. I didn't think about it like that, because I do have people in my circle that love me, that love on me, that are there for me. And I knew that if anything were to jump off, all I had to do was put the Vaseline on and let's go. I call them and it's like, let's go.
I mean, and it's so many levels to that too. But I mean, just thinking about like, eh, you, I friendships evolve too. I mean, I had a best friend when I was a child. We grew apart. Grew apart. I mean, we didn't grow apart. We moved apart. Then I have a new best friend who has been around since beginning of time. But on that, I have multiple layers of friends. And you have always been one of the people in my inner circle. And for me, my inner circle is still like my best friends. You know, like I have a picture of you guys on my wall. Okay. I don't have pictures of me on my wall. And you probably didn't know that. See, and it's things like that. I don't tell everybody everything. But like, I was talking to, as TNG mentioned on the phone yesterday, and we were talking about who I am to my friends.
I'm picking my daughter out, but I'm listening.
Okay. Who I am to my friends has never changed based on the title. Now, if I can't be that same person to everyone, I might just ghost you from my life. I just can't keep toxic energy around, but I don't change. I'm not going to do anything different to you, whether I bear a title or not. And I think that's important when we start thinking about the healing from families. Like one of the things that happened, my parents divorced when I was 2. And one of my brothers loved him, couldn't tie his shoes without him. The one that was 2 years older than me. The one that was 2 years younger than me hated his guts because he could not ever understand. He was 2 months when they divorced, and he would never be able to understand how a man could leave his family when his wife was pregnant. In fact, my father would pop up every so often, and he didn't understand that was even his father. We always called him by his first name.
Right.
So he didn't get it. And then there was this moment we had a really, really ugly fight when I was graduating from high school about my father. It got really ugly between the three of us. And I think it even started before then, but definitely from that moment forward, I realized I had one brother who was completely against him and one who was completely in love with him. And I never wanted there to be another war. Being a protector, I am still between my siblings. So I just shut down. My father was his name, and that's it. He gave birth to me. My mother was the kind that would never allow us to completely dismiss him, well, she would kind of keep pressing. You know how you got that mother.
Absolutely.
So I left that relationship open for whenever I wanted to indulge. And only because I knew that he wanted to. Every so often when I talked to him, if he even started going to the point that he was going to criticize my mom or whatever, I shut it down. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in what's happening forward. And later years in life, when I was pregnant with my son, was when we finally hit that accord. And he was so excited to develop a relationship that after I left, he called his cousin crying. Like, oh my God, she's going to finally let me be a father to my grandson. And then he died. Then he died. So I still never got my dad. Like we was talking about, he's a baseball player and I play football. I'm like, oh, we about to hit this. As soon as I get this baby out, we about to go out. It never happened. He never got to be a father.
Yeah.
I never got to be his daughter, his baby girl. But then you think about it. Not that anybody wants to be without a parent, but that happened. And now what? My baby brother, who couldn't stand him, is probably one of the most outstanding fathers that exists on this earth, just because he refuses to repeat that cycle. He
Right.
refuses to ever allow that. Now, I think sometimes he goes to a little bit of the extreme, but that's me. But whatever. And then, so like you have to also wonder, if your father said the things that he said to you, and some of them made me mad reading the book, why would you have wanted him in your life daily? You know what I mean? Like, those are things you have to ask yourself. Why are we crying or worried about somebody who did nothing for you but harm you? The best thing he ever did to you is produce you. Bye, thanks. Like, we have to get to a place in life where we have to stop wanting for what the title says you should do and realize that not everybody is ready for that challenge.
Yeah. No, I'm learning that over time, right? So I'll have thank you. I've learned that and am continuing to learn and evolve as it relates to that. And so for a different day, absolutely, I'll answer that question because it's a good question. And I think for me, in short, before I sum it up, the reason I guess I wanted him in my life because I wanted to, for that person that told me I wouldn't amount to anything, for that person that told me I couldn't do, was the same person that saw all of the degrees and all of the success and said, I pushed her to do that. And I needed to, my saying, and it will always be my motto, is I will show you better than I can tell you. And so I wanted him to know that in spite of everything that you said about me and to me, I'm still standing. And so that's why. And so whether it was let me stick it to you, I don't know. I can't answer that question. But I needed him to know that you don't have deadbeat kids, right? You have successful children. And we succeeded without you. And that's what I wanted him to know. So, but what I want to be cognizant of everybody's time, but I really appreciate you coming on and just sharing your thoughts. And like I said, it was just important for me because even though I get the text messages of, oh my goodness, your book was good, I couldn't put it down, and oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you. It's different when you get that call and you hear, girl, let me sit down and tell you, you got some time. And when I got that call initially, I was like, is everything okay? And so we just kind of went into it, and you said some things that I thought was very important to share. And I'm all about being transparent in this space, and that's new for me. And I have to start somewhere. And so I can't always have this hide behind the professional persona. I have to be vulnerable and be comfortable with that. And again, I'm still learning. So we might be having this conversation another 5 years down the road. And it's like, I need you got a red couch, you got a yellow couch. Can I sit on it? Because I need to talk about. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
I said, my couch is going to have multiple colors, so you're going to be busy. But yeah, I look forward to it. Like, I don't put a timeline. I don't put a time limit on us. I honestly, what was hard for me to read it is the same way I feel now. I feel like I just want to apologize, even though I know I didn't do anything. But that's how I feel. I feel like I was there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't know. I'm sorry I couldn't go in the house and whoop his tail with you. I think I remember meeting him one time. I remember coming in that house one time and meeting the man. I don't know which man, but it wasn't the last father, so it had to be him. I remember one time, so things like that. Like, I was always ready to take my earrings off and get in. Ready. I'm still ready, So those things, that feeling. But anyway, I just want you to know that I love you. I've always loved you. You were always my friend. I was always running behind you when you had that sad look on your face that I didn't know what it was, and now I do. I remember going to the skating rinks with you and you teaching me how to dance and do things I didn't know my mother was going to prove. Right.
We can talk about
Right.
that. We can talk about that.
Oh, okay. We can talk about that. All I'm saying is I'm here. And now that you are free to come out the shadows, whenever you're ready for me, you know, at any time you can call, whatever, or look for me or come out or make me take an extra trip, you know. I ain't got no money, but okay, let's go. Right. I'm here. And not only am I here, but you know, I extend my friend. I don't introduce my friends to friends unless they're good people. So I'm not going to bring people in your path. Everybody who you know that I know that you met, they are also good people. You have a family of love around you, and you got a sorority. But I'm just saying, we love you. You have never been alone. You will never be alone. You know, I lived that pain with you because I was there, but reading it, I felt like I was there again. Yeah. So anyway.
I love you as well. I appreciate you all who have joined in today. And so I was trying to get it to go to my Latisha B. Russell as well as my personal. I was unsuccessful. Maybe I'll figure it out for the next one. But I so appreciate you all being here to support me. And there are, you know, a few on the line that, again, I know you through Chemmetta, and you are wonderful. You have just a great group of friends, and I appreciate you for allowing me into their space as well. So thank you for tonight. Thank you for being a friend. I love you all, and I will catch you all next time. Have a good evening.
Love you.
Have a good day. Love you.